Well, let's get started. Thanks for everybody for showing up at the county board meeting at KDA Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023. We start up by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's open up approving the agenda for the KDA.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
We get a second.
Yeah, I'll second.
Any discussion? Approve the April 11th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Vote on the agenda.
Oh, we have a vote on the agenda. All for second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There we go. How about the meeting minutes for April 11th?
I'll move the minutes.
I'll second it.
Second. Any comment? What's the next one? I keep forgetting these.
Just a vote on it.
Just a vote on it? We got that.
Don't know I vote. To approve the minutes.
All approve?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed? Motion carries. Any new and old business?
Just consider the
They
funding.
consider funding lead for the American Connection Corporation members.
Yes. So I just got the formal agreement from ECC on Friday. I have copies of that here for everybody. And the portion we're talking about today is on page 12 and section 10. Host site financial commitment, host site fee. Host site shall contribute $17,000 host site fee to assigning organizations and support placement of the members outlined in section 1.3. So we were hoping for the $15,000. The amount that they decided for us is $17,000. And the board meeting 2 weeks ago, we decided that KDA would be the best place to get that funding from.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about Voting for America?
Sure. So they will provide us a fellow starting in their term in August. They will work under the county as well as with the assistance of KTI to further broadband development and other IT-related projects within the county. We had a fellow for the program year 2022, and that was Jackie. She's done a great job so far. We're hoping to have another fellow follow up and continue the work that she has started, and we'll continue to work on it for the remainder of her term.
Can you tell us a little bit about the operational funding that's been received? I know.
Yes, there are a few sources that have been secured, I believe. Is that correct, Jackie?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's totaling around $8,000 or $9,000 that we've secured for operational funding.
Any successes last year? I know there's been some good ones that you guys have had for projects and so forth.
More so building up and getting information. I know Jackie has been working with KTI in efforts to gather information for the Office of Broadband Development, and that's in efforts to continue to get funding for broadband projects. So we're kind of in the starting stages of that legwork for this kind of things.
Takes time, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Wishes of the board.
So we want to get funding from KDA? Basically what we're looking for?
KDA.
KDA.
We have a contingency fund, and there's about $35,000 in that, so this would take up almost half of it, half of the contingency fund.
I'd make a motion for us to take out of that fund for this right here.
I would second that. And this includes the agreement with you being the lead person.
Yep, I will be the whole site supervisor.
And then we'll still understand that we'll still be in the office space that's in the
Correct.
building, and everything will be
Yep.
computer provided and all that stuff
Yep.
as well. Okay.
Perfect.
What's some of the things that's in the hopper? I know what they are, but
Not everybody else does.
not everybody else might understand.
Right.
But
Yeah, so the big one is Jackie's heading the Digital Connection Committee to gather the data from the county members hosting town hall meetings, sending out a lot of information, whether it's radio ads, newspaper ads, and hosting those public forums for the public to come in and communicate their information and their stories for the Office of Broadband Development. That's been the biggest focus lately. We're also looking at hosting some sort of workshops for community members, whether professional or just end users, to come and get some digital literacy and improve digital equity within the county.
we just speak to that a little bit. We have 3 meetings so far, I think.
You have 3 meetings last week, and I think another 3 this week. 2 or 3 this week.
Okay. And I think it's Rainier tonight. Yeah, tonight at 6:30.
Mhm.
Okay. And then International Falls tomorrow at 6. Okay, and that's at the Rainier Hall. Is that correct? And then the council chambers.
Library.
Oh, that's right, library. Excuse me. Yeah.
So how are the meetings going? Do you have the public attending?
So the first one, the attendance was low, but the last 2 of last week had about 20 people from the public in each.
Oh, that's
And
great.
both of those 2 providing a lot of good information that we can use.
Wonderful. So they're catching on, the public's
Yes.
catching on, huh?
So then this, yes, go ahead, Jackie.
Sorry to jump in. The Big Falls meeting was recorded, thanks to KCC TV, and it is posted online on their KCC's YouTube channel, so, and also linked on our Facebook page for Koochiching Technology Initiative. So go out there and watch.
Yeah, sure.
Or come to one of the meetings.
And then the gist of these digital connection meetings are to gather information to send to the state to
Correct.
kind of make the plan for digital equity funding in
Yeah,
the
so having this
future.
information will make future requests for grants and funding more likely.
Based on the
to be
needs.
accepted, yes. We've done the work to prove that it's needed.
Right. Well, there are some spots out there, so
Mhm.
and definitely there's some things that people should be aware of.
So we had a first and a second.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Yes.
You have any public comment? Need a vote for adjourning.
Make a motion.
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Welcome everybody to the Koochiching County Board of Commissioners meeting for May 23rd, 2023. And we'll start off with county business to approve the proposed agenda with additions and/or deletions. We do have 2 additions. The first addition is the auditor treasurer consider approval of tax processing software update. I will place that addition after county business before complex business. And then the information system business we'll place after Public Health and Human Services as addition 2. If that looks okay, I will accept, is that all the additions? Okay. If that looks all right, I accept a motion for the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is to approve the minutes from the May 9th, 2023 regular meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hell.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is financial business. I will accept a motion for items A and B.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion on the claims? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Next up is to approve the warrant void due to, I think it was a lost warrant.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Any discussion on the void? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next is human resource business. Hello, Janelle.
Morning. Right. Bit of a list here. First one to start with is I have notice of hire of our temporary summer highway laborers, and that includes Andy Williams, who is returning from last year, Maddie Lawrenson, and Ashton Wilshire. Thank you. They were hired as temporary summer laborers, and their start date was last Monday, May 15th. And that's just a notice, so I do not need a motion.
We still have 2 open positions if there's any interested parties out there.
Two more?
2 more.
There's 2 more open positions for consideration.
For the labor, the temp hires? Okay, okay. Next I have is a notice of temporary hire of Erin Hall for the County Sheriff's Office. And she has been hired as a temporary transport driver and bailiff per the temporary hire policy.
No motion on that either?
No motion, no.
Okay.
We have a notice of hire for 2 part-time dispatch correction officers. First being Sophia Benedicts. She was hired as the E911 dispatch correction officer on April 26th. And then we also hired Sean Cannon for the same position part-time. And his start date was May 11th. Again, those are notices, so no motion needed. But on the reverse end, both of these individuals are promoting to a full-time status, so this will need a motion. So I'm requesting authorization to promote Sophia to full-time E911 dispatch correction officer effective May 22nd, and Sean effective May 26th, which this would need a motion.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion? Well, welcome to Sophia and Sean.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you.
All right, next one I have is a policy update and modification, if you will. So I'm requesting approval to modify the guidelines to administering donated sick leave policy. This was a topic of negotiation, and we had determined that we needed to change the makeup of our policy So what this is going to be doing is we are updating the eligibility requirements, and an employee must be employed for a minimum of 6 months to be eligible to receive donated sick leave. It's eliminating, currently we're in the practice of having a person-to-person solicitation, meaning that if Commissioner McIntyre was in need, I would send out a countywide solicitation saying that Commissioner McIntyre has exhausted his leave and we are opening donated sick leave, so on and so forth. So we have to eliminate that because that is not in compliance with the IRS tax law. So by eliminating the person-to-person solicitation, what we are looking to do is creating a donated sick leave bank. What that looks like is periodically I will send out solicitations countywide for individuals to donate to the bank. So instead of saying Commissioner McIntyre is in need of sick leave, we are now funding a sick leave bank. So that is the purpose of this update, and that is to be compliant with that IRS rule and tax law. So then that would also say recipients would then request how many hours that they are looking to receive, and that is then converted to their equivalent hourly wage. The HR position would send out the solicitations from time to time to address the need for the donations, in addition to allowing employees to make donations at any time as well. With this, a committee will need to be established, so then when we have donated sick leave requests, they will fill out a form which is attached to our policy, where the committee would then review the need for the donated sick leave, determining if it's eligible. And then, of course, in the policy, it does mention that, we can either approve, decline, approve impartial, things of that nature. What that means is, if we got, say, 3 requests at one time and they're all eligible, we'd want to make sure that we are applying it fairly, and maybe not all 3 would get the entirety of their request, but then we could fund it equally amongst the 3, something of that nature. So that is the update to the guidelines. And I just need that approval to make that update, and then I will be sending it out countywide as well as to our business agents and so forth. Any questions on policy update? Yeah.
Just one question. What's the bank total? What's the limit on the bank total? Is there a limit on that?
I don't believe meaning the bank that they donate to?
Yes.
I do not believe there is a max that we can hold. I have not seen anything defined by IRS or otherwise saying that you can only have X amount. We do define that they're only able to receive X amount of hours, which is consistent with the statute, and I can't quote the statute, but basically for family or personal sick related leaves, you're entitled to 120 days, which is equivalent to 960 hours. So that's in there, but we do not have a definition of the maximum the bank can hold. Yep.
Should there be something in there for maximum for liability, or?
I guess that was an area that we did not identify as a concern, nor did we seem to find that there was something requiring that you can only have a maximum amount. Yep. So, I mean, if that were to be an area of concern, I suppose we would most definitely be able to address that if we needed to put a cap on what that bank could hold.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
We can certainly check into that too.
We could, yes. I know we had our legal HR attorney working on this quite diligently with review of those IRS tax laws and everything.
Yeah, we can ask that question though.
But we certainly could, yes.
Well, it's a great program.
It is a great program, yes. And we want to be able to continue to utilize it, give the benefit to our employees, but of course, we just want to make sure that we are doing it by laws and those guidelines set by the IRS, so we don't have any implications that come of it.
Yeah, great idea. Keeping this going, so.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions?
I will make the approval.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And the motion carries. Excellent.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next up will be the Auditor Treasurer addition. to consider approval of tax processing software.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Very good.
All right.
Just asking for approval to spend some money to upgrade our processing software, which is the software we use to run tax payments through, checks through. It allows us to direct deposit to Bremer Bank, saves a pile of time. We've had this software for going on 7 years. I budgeted to buy some an additional machine last year. Did not buy it. Limped along. And this year, because of a variety of things, we ended up with a software where we had, not to get too deep into the weeds here, 2 different kinds of MICR numbering, and the software wouldn't handle both of them, which doesn't sound like a big deal until you're trying to enter in 1,000 payments. You know?
Right.
And so a lot of the times you're plugging numbers in and so forth to make sure it's reading the MICR correctly. So what this would do is allow us to read both of those, several ancillary benefits. Right now, when people pay their taxes, generally they pay a penalty. The software we currently have doesn't read the penalty, so all of it has to be hand entered. So this software will allow you to run a check through and a stub through, and it reads it automatically, given good handwriting. Okay, so it's $3,600, and if we didn't buy this, we would need to spend $1,500 anyway to upgrade the software that we currently have. We keep the same machine. Software is again will be an upgrade. The reason this happened to us is the other counties in our area all went with a different system. So we're the only one that has a system called Gerard, which works fine, but MSys, our tax software system, you know, does what most of the other folks are doing, so it doesn't read ours as well, doesn't service as well. So this would be something that, again, initial cost $3,600, really $2,100. And then additionally, it would cost about $900 a year for maintenance on this sort of thing. So, and it saves an inordinate amount of time. So we'll, you know, over the last week or so of tax season, we collected hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of taxes a day. Betsy? I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, may I?
Yes, go ahead.
Is this a budgeted expense for this
No,
year?
it is not budgeted for this year.
Okay.
It
So
was for last year. We didn't spend it, so we just discovered it this year as we're running through these payments, putting them into the reader like a bank does.
Sure.
And what happened was somebody would come in and they don't have their tax stub, so we print the tax stub remotely, or not remotely, from here.
Mm-hmm.
And the MICR on the tax stub that we print from here is different from the MICR on the tax stub that was printed by the printer who, again, not to get too deep into the weeds, who printed our initial statements.
Mm-hmm.
So if you forgot your statement and we print it off for you and give it to you, which is wonderful, it looks the same to the naked eye, but not to the computer. So the computer would require us to enter in, you know, several
Just slow it
digits
down.
and symbols, things like that. So it becomes a situation where you have a stack of stubs and payments this thick. You're running through them, and
Entering
it
it.
stops every 5 or 6. Yeah. So it's not budgeted for. No.
So do you have place in your budget that you can grab money, you move money around to be able to cover this?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you're
We're buried with elections too.
So you're asking us to change your budget?
Yes, I am. Yes.
$3,600?
Yeah. With the elections that we have going, kind of unanticipated as well, we're
So the
We're not gonna come in overall under budget. I mean, many items will, obviously,
Sure.
payroll, things like that.
Is the 900 part of this in addition to the 36 this year, or is the 900 start next year?
Additional this year.
So it's $4,500. then.
4,500 less the
Excuse me, is
1,500 that
right?
we would have spent anyway.
So you have
3,000.
1,500 budgeted then?
Yes,
Okay, so you're looking for $3,000 to be added to your budget?
correct.
I'm sure we could.
I was one of those stack of people that you had to enter in because I did not have my tax stuff. payments.
You
You sent them
caused
out
them
way
extra
too early,
work.
so,
Yeah, that's okay. Many people do. You happen to be near the courthouse, you say, I'll stop in there, but my
Please
statements
stop.
are at home, you know.
Right,
So, a lot of counties charge money to do that, to print other statements, which I find reasonable. However, it creates other administrative things that, you know,
Have to be added in.
yes, it adds more headache than it's worth sometimes, I think. But anyway,
So this software is part of Quantum then? Is
Right.
that what you called it, Quantum?
well, I Quantum,
Or is
yes,
this a totally
it's
different-
part of the software system we have. So we maintain the same machine.
Okay,
However, the software can be uploaded to us in late June, and then it reads things, and then we can apply late penalties in handwriting, again, if you're careful with that sort of thing. And it just alleviates a
Those
pile of
extra
time.
steps.
Yeah. I wouldn't be so adamant about it, but Joan was gone for about a week in April, and I was running the machine, and it went sideways. I tried to figure it out. So yes, it's well worthwhile for us, I believe. Whether it's in the budget or not, or whether you can justify it, that's of course up to you. But
sure.
wishes of the board.
Do you have a place to get the budgeting from?
Well, we were just kind of just sidebarring here with that. And so the motion then would be to add $3,000 to the auditor treasurer budget. And that $3,000 would come from admin contingency to cover the partial, the 4,500 minus the 1,500 that's already in the budget.
Okay.
So that would be the motion.
Motion would include that if made?
I'm sorry?
Motion could include that if made?
Yes.
Yes. I'd make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Any discussion? Anything else, Al?
no, that'll do her. Thank you. Sorry for the trouble there.
Oh, no worries,
Take
sir.
Thank
If there's no other discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. The next up is complex business. Hi, Dean.
Morning.
Morning.
He got side. He's a little confused. Complex business.
Yeah, complex. It's always a complex issue. What I'm here to the board today for is we've got a bad air conditioning unit. It's located on top of the roof of the court system, and it serves the courtroom. And the history behind this air conditioner is it's a train unit, it's a rooftop unit, and it's about 18 years old. It's a 3-ton unit. And I'm told that the compressor's been changed in the past, some years ago. And currently, right now, we can't hold gas in it. I've dumped gas into it myself, and I've had Shannon's come over and put gas into it, and it'll last 3 days, maybe a week at a stretch. So the other kicker to the deal is they're all done with R22 refrigerant. You can't get it anymore, and that's what this unit is. And so we're kind of at a catch there with age and availability for gas. I don't know that it would be cost prohibitive to try to tear into the thing, and we suspect that the leak is in the coil somewhere, and you'd have to dismantle the thing completely apart. And then if you did try to fix it, you can't get the gas. It's tough to get. I used to have a jug down here that I kept because we've got other units on the property that are R22. And I used pretty much all of my jug to keep the thing going while they had some cord up there, but long story short, I think we're looking at a new unit. And what I would like to do is get the board's approval to go ahead and seek some bids on it, and then come back to the board for the authorization to go ahead. So
What ton is that again?
it's a 3-ton unit, it's a train unit, and it's cooling only, there's no heating on that, it's just strictly cooling. And this is an unbudgeted expense. This would have to come from our sinking building fund, I presume. And you know what, I don't know what it takes to get equipment right now. I imagine it's at least probably 4 to 6 weeks out or something, I would imagine, on a good day.
Limping along for 4 to 6 weeks? Gonna get warm.
You know what, I've already done some digging. Worst case scenario, if this weather changes and gets real hot on us, I've made a contact with some temporary air conditioning that we could roll in and set up for them. I don't have the exact cost on that yet. I know that it's expensive to do that. But worst case scenario, if they're having a jury trial up there or something where it's loaded up with people and all that, I'd have to call the company and come in and set up some kind of remote air conditioning to at least get them by. So that expense would be added onto it as well. So, and I know that doesn't come cheap. They're very expensive.
Do you have any idea of a costing that we could do not to exceed
You know what?
or something?
We did the unit over on top of the jail a couple of years ago, I think it was, and I think that one ran about, I think it was about 6,000 or something like that. Just the number.
Could we do a not to exceed amount so you can get going on this if we approve? On a quote, just for time wise, so you don't have to wait for another meeting for 2 or 3 weeks for another approval. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would work. If you guys are good with that, then I don't have to come back.
Right.
What do I do with the bids then if I get 3-4 bids?
So we could do a not to exceed amount, I think.
And then I
If you
would be
have a-
open
if you
to
have a
just
general
take
idea,
the lowest
yeah.
bid and just move on.
I think so. If we would do it with the auditor treasurer or something, just do it a normal bid opening and just, so it's official like that, I guess. And then just have a not to exceed amount from here so we get moving on it so we don't have to, hopefully buy the temporary, save you a couple of weeks anyway.
It would.
So-
If you guys are good with that, I'm good with that too.
How much was the last unit you said?
Well, I gotta believe it was like 6,000, 7,000, somewhere
was a
right in
couple
there.
years ago?
And I could check on that and get you that
And
information.
that's similar size?
That one over there, yeah, that one was bigger. That was a bigger unit.
And that was
This is
installed
only 3 ton
and-
here.
That was installed and turned the switch and it's
Correct.
going there?
Yeah, I can get you that number if you would like that to be.
Yes.
We can do
Cheaper than I thought.
if you want to do a not to exceed
80.
7,500 or 8,000 or something.
Well,
Probably.
if that was a
10,000?
few years ago, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
And
better
this
tell
is a
them
smaller unit.
20% on the whatever that number was.
This is
Maybe
I'm
like
sorry.
85 or
And this is
9,
unbudgeted as
somewhere
well.
in there.
This is
Would
unbudgeted.
that get you most of the way there?
It would be close,
8,000.
Adam.
That's kind
Yeah,
of
so-
But it's just in the
85
budget,
or
so he would just take it out of
9,000.
that 50,000.
There'd be a crane, they gotta get a crane to pick the thing, to reset it, but then after that it should. And the only other thing that we could run into trouble with is the size, the dimension. There's a curb up there now, and if we have to start reconstructing a curb, there could be, to fit this unit, there could be something there.
Mr. Chair, if I may. So did you say that the courthouse unit, the unit over the courthouse is smaller, or the courtroom, pardon me, is smaller than the one that you replaced at the jail?
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
As far as tonnage goes.
so the unit
Pretty
is-
sure, I think that was
is-
like a 6, whether, if I remember right.
So this AC unit would be smaller than the other one?
In tonnage, yeah.
Less price then as well?
I don't know that.
Okay.
I suppose there'd be some break there somewhere
So then,
along the way.
if it is within the $8,000, if that's what you're gonna set it for, if it's more than that, then you would need to come back to the board, correct?
It'll be nice to get going on it though too, honestly, because if we have to rent a unit, we might
Yeah.
throw away a couple $1,000 just doing that. at
We could
least.
always amend this board motion then,
Yeah.
if we needed to.
Yeah.
if it-
What would you start out at 9? not to exceed
That's what I was
9.
wondering.
I think.
Yeah, and I can certainly keep the board in the loop. When I get numbers, I'll be
Sure.
calling, and so that everybody is aware of where I'm at, just because.
Okay. Chair would accept a motion for amount not to exceed $9,000 for the replacement of the AC rooftop unit for the courtroom.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Is that clear now?
I was just gonna, when you were gonna ask for a question, I was gonna ask a question. So, if we could just, say also in the motion that it would come from the sinking building.
Okay, is that okay with you guys?
Come from sinking building.
Okay. Anything else for that meeting?
No, that should be it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? And motion carries.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Dane.
I'm sorry, I missed the first and second.
Commissioner Roach? Next up is Health and Human Services. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning.
Morning.
Very easy couple of things for you guys.
You always say that.
Well, enjoy it while it lasts, because there's times when I don't have. Just a little.
So you used to have a warrant void here for,
Yes, the first thing is to approve the warrant void in the amount of $164.90.
all right, to accept the motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Any discussion on the void? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. And next item is 2 burials.
There's 2 burials to approve.
I will accept the motion to approve the burials.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Awesome, thank you. Thank you, Kathy.
That was easy.
It was.
Next up is, addition number 2. Which is Justin. Hello again.
Hello again.
And you have an addition for 15 PCs?
Correct, yeah, 2023 PC replacements, total of 77 PCs were out of warranty, or will be out of warranty by the end of this year. Many of them have already had their warranty extended, so we'll look at those again next year. A few have been replaced with existing inventory, remaining 18 that still need to be replaced. This RBA is for the purchase of 15 of those replacement PCs, 5 laptops, and 10 desktops. The last 3 are all up in dispatch, so those need to be special ordered for their needs up there. But looking for approval to purchase those 15 PCs, all with 5-year warranties, as well as 10 docking stations for the laptops, and then laptops that we'll get in the future. Total cost for this is going to be $18,662.40, and this was in the budget.
Excellent.
I'll make the motion.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Hill.
And I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Thank you,
That's all I
Justin.
have. Thank you, gentlemen.
Now lands and Forest. Hi, Nathan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Pretty easy one, just, this is informational, we don't need a board motion on this, so this is just a recap our May 3rd timber auction that we held in Big Falls. We sold all the tracts that we offered up. Prices continue to kind of hold fairly steady from what we've seen the last year and a half or so, the last 18 months or so. Pine prices, softwood prices actually surprisingly are still up there. You know, what the future holds there, I don't know, with lumber prices kind of coming down quite a bit from historical highs, that we could see a drop in our softwood stumpage prices in the future, but that's kind of just purely a guess at this point. But and then as well on this, so we hold 4 auctions, timber auctions a year, and then always on this May auction we offer up what we call decorative spruce tips for auction. So it's small young black spruce that's a couple feet high, and it actually we sell them and they go to the decorative market in the fall of the year for around the holidays, and that market has kind of been growing and growing, and we actually kind of saw record prices for those at our last auction. So all told, with the timber stumpage that we sold and those decorative spruce tips, the total sale value of that auction was just under $1.2 million. So a good auction overall. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's. Yeah, they're getting some pretty heavy prices for bolts and stuff, aren't they?
Yeah.
For fine.
Christmas trees, $139,000 for the Christmas tree.
Yeah, so they're only, normally what they harvest, they're a couple feet tall, and really what they're doing for us is they're kind of doing what we would call a pre-commercial thinning. So they're not cutting everything. We have them leave so many crop trees out there that'll grow up to become mature trees, but they harvest them in the fall of the year, and they'll get put in like these little potted arrangements that people buy, at Home Depot or wherever for around the holidays. So.
All the sales sold?
Yep, all the sales sold. So.
All right. Well, that's excellent. Very good. So, you have one more?
We'll have 2 more yet this year.
Two more, one at the end and one in the fall. Okay.
Yeah.
And still in Big Falls?
Yep, still in Big Falls. Yep. It's kind of a nice central location.
All right. Any questions? Anybody?
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Nathan.
So Nathan brings it in and
You take it out.
Matt spends it.
Poor Matt, he gets picked on.
Good morning, Trent.
Morning. How is everyone?
Good. Good. You have a few things here.
We do. We got five items for the agenda. The first one would be authorizing Highway Department to advertise for bids for project CP 2023-04. That's our yearly crack sealing project. Again, we're going to be focusing down in the North Home area on CASA 6. We'll finish out CASA 6 leading into Mizpah, and then hit CASA 36. So going over towards the Kellier area. And again, we try and spend, in that $200,000 to $250,000 range. We go off of our estimates and quantities, and just go as far as we can. So it's a good project. I think folks like the ride improvement that the mastic provides, and then of course we like the crack sealing and the benefits that does, keeping water out of the base.
Yep.
So, engineer's estimate places it at a little over $245,000.
All right. Wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hell.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion? How many miles does this cover, you think, about?
We try and get about 10.
10 miles? Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes we can stretch it out if the road is a little bit better. We've got a pretty decent section of road where back in 2017, I think it was, we brought up an area on 36 where there was flooding. Yeah. So we should be able to almost kind of skip that with the mastic, maybe put a little crack seal in there, and maybe we'll get 11 miles out of the deal.
Sounds good.
That road used to be terrible.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Excellent. And then hired trucks?
Yeah, next one would be hired trucks. So every year we quote out hired trucks and Beaver, which we'll see in the in bullet 3 there. But this year we had two companies quote on most areas. Zimba Trucking was the low bid or low quote in all 7 areas. So would recommend awarding to Zimba for the listed rates.
All right.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hell. Or Roach, excuse me.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hell. Any discussion?
Again, everything's going up.
Oh, yeah.
That seems pretty reasonable though.
There was a difference in the bid prices there, though.
There was, back, was it 4 years ago? I think we were in the $100 range for all these areas, not 140. But fuel prices, truck prices, labor prices, they all go up.
Yes, they do.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Now the nuisance beavers, our favorite.
Yep. Nuisance beaver, same deal. That's a yearly thing that we quote out. Bids or quotes were open the same day, 12th of May at 2 p.m. And we would recommend awarding to the folks as listed: Jim Roggenrud, Jerry Palm, Kent Linder, and John Loma, depending on the area there. You can see kind of a wide variety of prices depending on locations. Again, fuel is the driver on that. You go out to Area 3, the Birchdale area, that extends all the way out to Clemenson. It's a long drive to get out there. So.
Well, thanks these people for stepping up and signing up for these. It's a big deal. They make a mess, so without them, they'd be in a big lake out here. So,
Yeah.
But
The state just did one down by Little Fork right beside the highway, and that's already half built back up again.
yeah, they don't take them on, does it?
No.
Yeah,
They hire out for that too, and they're
Do they?
within their families. Yeah, beaver families, they hire the next family over.
The state has a different process. They have kind of a statewide trapper or northern area trapper. I think he's out at Duluth, if I recall. And they'll only call them up here maybe once a year. But they'll go out and they'll rip out dams themselves, and then just
keep ripping them down.
just keep fighting them and fighting them and fighting them. And I like our process better.
I do too.
How do you count the beaver? Do they cut the tail off and bring it in?
Yep, they bring tails in.
I wanted to bid on that, but I wanted to cut an ear off.
An ear? So there's 2?
They wouldn't go for it.
Wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Oh, yeah.
Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is to award a couple projects here.
Yeah, so this one is to award SAP 036, 624, 023, as well as SAP 036, 629, 014, and CP 2023-02. So these projects are located in order, 2nd Avenue East from 19th to Memorial, or 26th. CASA 29, the Haney Road, located in between Trunk Highway 53 and 217. And then finally, the CP project is located over the Bear River on CASA 1, just outside Little Fork. We had our bid opening on May 15th at 2 p.m. Total of 4 contractors submitted bids for this contract, which was great. Engineer's estimate placed at $1.386 million, and Wagner Construction came in at $1,506,000, $850.61. That's a little over 8% higher than the engineer's estimate. We'll call it 9% over the engineer's estimate, which is still pretty good for as volatile as we're seeing things. You can see on the bid tab here, Hewlin Brothers was actually very close as well, but yeah, Wagner came in with a low bid. I would recommend awarding to Wagner Construction for that $1,506,850.61.
Are any of those state aid?
Yep. So all 3 of them are state aid. The first 2 projects, the SAP projects, we pay for those with our CASA construction funds, and then this CP project, we would use our CASA maintenance funds for that.
Okay.
Wishes of the board?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Any further discussion?
The board motion should also authorize the board chair to sign the contract agreement for these projects.
Is that okay with your motion?
That's okay with my motion, yes.
Any further discussion? Questions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Excellent. Now the good one.
And then the last one, the most ridiculous one. So 2 weeks ago, came to the board, of course, requested authorization to purchase 3 half-ton trucks through state bid through Dodge of Burnsville. And again, we joked in here that they probably wouldn't be available when I got back to the office, and sure enough, they weren't. Dodge of Burnsville didn't do a very good job with their communication and deadlines. So what I would like to do is request that the board give me authorization to purchase 3 half-ton crew or quad cab, extended cab trucks, 4-wheel drive, off of a lot. I've been in contact with the other District 1 county engineers, and that's what some of them have been doing, because the state bid has just been non-existent lately. I would request a not to exceed of $45,000 per truck. And then that opens up the funding question that we left kind of open-ended as well last time with the ARPA funds. We can discuss that at a later point as well. If the board chose not to extend those ARPA funds for this purchase, we would pay for it out of that 10,303,6675, and any remaining we would pay out of that anyways. So, if we were to spend $45,000 on each one of these trucks, that would be a greater sum than the $100,000 of ARPA funds.
Okay.
Is there sales tax on that, or
We wouldn't have sales tax.
So the total amount would be to not exceed then would be the $45,000 per vehicle?
Correct.
Up to 3 vehicles?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
How do you not have sales tax?
We're a government unit, so we wouldn't pay sales tax.
Well, that's only for sheriffs, for police vehicles that you don't pay sales tax.
Really?
Mhm. Yeah.
not aware of that, but I
I'm
can
not either.
certainly check
For the
into
county,
it.
everything in forestry was,
That's how it's
Tax
always
exempt.
been, is that our exemption only includes for public safety vehicles. Unless that's changed, but that's the way it was, I mean,
So on state.
like land and forestry, they pay sales tax on theirs. It's only the squads that we don't have to pay sales tax on.
Really?
So that might change this a little bit.
Okay.
And this continues now, right?
So. Let's see.
Well, that's another $10,000. Yeah, 10,000.
What is state sales tax right now?
$650.
0.875.
Oh, $650, yeah. All vehicles, still 6.5%.
Okay. I don't know.
That'd be $29.25 in sales tax, plus you're at $45,000 each.
So I would up that not to exceed to $48,000 from $45,000 to cover sales tax.
If you can get it without sales tax, I'll be happy.
So we all.
I would try to figure out something.
Yeah.
So far as the ARPA commitments, I think we could run that again through the ARPA committee perhaps, prior to just saying, yeah, that's okay, but just for consideration, maybe run it through the committee. I don't foresee a huge problem, but just out of consideration for that committee to be able to do that, so.
Sure.
So then the total amount would be 154, does that sound right? The 48 times
That's correct.
3?
It's 145.
144.
My 10,000 off?
Yeah.
Why did I do that?
Times 3, 144.
Oh, I did the wrong number, that's why.
Yep.
Okay.
Not to exceed 144.
144. Well, it's a good thing people can add around here. So 144. And in pending, the 44,000 would come out of the 10,303 account?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay. Potentially. All right, wishes of the board?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Roche. Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any questions, concerns? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Well, good luck. Good luck, Trent.
Yeah, I apologize for the confusion there.
Nope.
Well, that's
Thank you.
Thank you.
good job.
Hi, Matt.
Hey.
All right, sir. You have a couple things here. Agreement with the state of Minnesota.
Right, so the Voyageurs National Park Clean Waters Joint Powers Board has allocated $200,000 to Koochiching County as part of the fiscal year 2022 clean water funding that the Joint Powers Board received to complete projects in their project areas. We identified the Jackfish Rainy Lake RV Sanitary Design Construction Project as something that fit with the funding and was a project that would have positive impact in our efforts to address sanitary sewer concerns within the Rainy Lake watershed. This grant requires the funds be matched by at least 25%, $50,000. The contract expires June 30th, 2026, or once the project is complete, whichever comes first. I'm requesting authorization to enter into the contract and execute the necessary documents, and I included the work plan and other documentation within the submittal. So a positive thing, we were receiving a grant.
Well, I was going to say, this is due to a lot of work from the VMP Joint Powers Board group that advocates and lobbies for this funding that not only here but in Crane Lake and Ash River and Kaptogama area and in this whole basin to improve the sanitary sewer systems and kind of get everything just to improve the area. So it's this funding is rotating funding. Usually, I think we have different areas have different needs, so then they have projects that pop up over the course of this funding cycles, and then we kind of try to plan these funding cycles out, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 years in advance to know which area is going to receive what. And I think this was one of the requests that we had from the funding cycle 22-23. Is that right?
This was fiscal year 22.
22. Okay.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think it's.
But it's for the 22-23, and then there'll be some allocation. I haven't heard of the finality of that yet, but there was another $2 million being requested from the legislature for the 24-25. So we'll see how that works out. But then from there, some of the work plans that we would designate or Matt would vet and look at that would be an improvement for our area would fit into that. So and then go through the VMP Joint Powers Board. So this is a positive improvement for our areas as moving forward with this for sure. So
Yeah, the Joint Powers Board does a great job of obtaining funding for future projects in the area. Obviously, the Jackfish project has been done. The Island View Soup project has been extended, and there's other areas that we've identified as areas that have an impact on our water quality rates, and so trying to create solutions for these issues is a big deal. So.
Seems pretty reasonable to get 75% of funding.
Yeah. Anytime you can get 75% funding on a project, that's a great deal.
all right, wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Anything else, Matt, on that?
Unless you have any other questions.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Mr. Chair.
Sorry, go ahead.
I did have a question.
Apologize.
So, did we talk about where the 50,000 would come from?
Will that be in the next motion, or is this part of this motion?
This is part of this
Oh,
motion.
excuse me. We'll need to designate that funding. I think we had some discussion and went through the ARPA committee recently and had approval from that committee.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
For the 50,000, which falls right within the parameters.
Definitely falls within our guidelines, what we could use the money for, since the final ruling happened in April of last year. And so we wouldn't have any problem.
I'll do that with the corrections.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I'm sorry about that.
That's right.
All right, anything further? We'll get that straightened out.
For me.
Appreciate that, thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, and motion carries. Thank you. There we go. Now we're on to the software that you've been looking at.
Right, yeah. So for quite a few years, we've been looking at transitioning our planning and zoning functions away from a paper hard file system to a digital system. We received 4 different proposals for planning and zoning permitting software. I listed the different proposals. We had RT Vision Software Solutions, OneGov product. Their first year 1 cost was $11,500. Year 2 cost $3,500. Year 3 $3,500. So just a renewal of the software once it's set up is $3,500 a year, and that'll be ongoing. The other 3 are at much higher prices. There was Civic Plus. They were at year 1 cost of $20,000 and year 2 at $12,075, and didn't have a year 3 cost, but I'm sure it'd be at least that amount. That was year 2. Cloud Permit $29,500, and then year 2 $14,500 and $14,500. So their renewal was $14,500. And then there was this Mitchell Humphrey software, which was Fast Track Gov software. St. Louis County has that software. Their year 1 cost was $118,000 and $25,000 $118,025. And year 2 cost was $15,525, and year 3, $15,525. So bottom line is RT Vision software, year 1 cost was much lower than everyone else at $11,500, and year 2 costs, ongoing costs were $3,500 a year. So we had each of the software companies provide demonstrations of their software. Among other things, each choice provided options for customers to complete applications and pay fees online. My recommendation is to move forward with the RT Vision software solution, OneGov product, and the purchase was included in our 2023 budget, so that would be my recommendation. And it's long overdue.
Yeah, this is going to be quite an improvement, isn't it?
Yes, it will be. It'll take some time to transition into it.
Right.
And of course, we have a ton of paper files that eventually you'll have to get into the system, but that's more longer term. But moving forward, we'll have the ability to track permits and provide that service in a much more, in a better way, I guess, using the software. We'll be able to track it better.
So, and this is compatible with other departments as well, perhaps?
So RT Vision actually does our e-time currently, so we are familiar with the software, at least for the e-time, and the demonstrations that they provided were very similar to the other vendors that provide the software. The other question I had for them is if, for instance, if they ever went out of business, you know, the data set is important and how it's structured. And so I wanted to make sure that it would be in a file type that could be imported into another software if that ever occurred.
Right.
And their answer was yes. So they typically put these things in a type, a file type that is, able to be imported in other softwares. So, which is really important because you never know what software companies are going to do. Right? So,
right.
although RT Vision's been, I don't know how long we've had them for our e-time.
It's got to be at least 10 years, 10,
Yeah.
12 years. And their support has been excellent.
Right. So they've been around quite a while, and so we thought they were very good. I had Whitney Sims in our office involved with getting each of the demonstrations, and so she agreed also with the the selection of the OneGo products. I wanted her to be involved because obviously she'd be using it quite a bit. So.
We get 3 years of RT Vision for less than the startup cost from the next lowest one.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? It's a good. I mean, I've been talking to RT Vision for a while. Their price when they started was higher, and I've been talking to them for a while. Saying, no, that's a lot of money. We don't have a lot of income coming in from our permit fees, and so I've been talking to them a long time. But they sharpened their pencil and did really, I think, an excellent. I mean, that was a fair quote in my mind. So
That sounds really good.
Wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any further discussion? Anything else for us, ma'am? If there's no other discussion, call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
That's great. At this time is a public comment period before we get into our committee of the whole. Is there anyone here for public comment? Online? Anyone?
I have a question.
Yes.
We were wondering about the proposal from the city to annex property on 332 close to the airport, and we hear KGM's property right there where the pit is. But rumor has it the proposal is to take the whole horseshoe from Meadowview all the way around to Old Highway 11 and come up by the airport. I'd like to know what the county knows and what you can give us for information.
We have not been approached by anyone other than some of the airport being annexed, perhaps, potentially, and that was probably last year. That went through a committee, the Airport Commission Committee, had just a brief discussion on that. I don't know that it went anywhere. And beyond that, I have not seen anything officially from anyone. So certainly, what other concerns, I guess I'm not sure where this is coming from, but
The landowners are quite concerned because there's going to be a lot of us that are going to take a big hit if that is allowed and the county gives up that property to the city. There's a lot of us that got pretty big footprints that are going to see a huge tax increase and things that, you know, I've got
Animals.
44 head of cattle that I can't be in city limits if I get agricultural.
I hear you. Yeah, there has been some preliminary stuff. If you look at the city's long-range plan, they have some language in there that has timelines and things and areas. And I can't remember if it's on page 77, Matt. That is in that comprehensive plan for the city.
I can't remember what page, but there is something in there.
Yeah, I think it's on page 77 that states kind of the area of where they're considering and the timeline of where that's going to be considered. And I don't recall it being that whole horseshoe area, but I guess I haven't honestly read the whole thing. I've read the pages around it. So
For information, but we haven't got anything in response or any literature to go off of. So
okay.
just want to reduce the rest.
Yes.
Make a good point though. On the city's website, they have the comprehensive plan, and in that document it talks about annexation. So you might want to read that. That's
Get what details are.
yeah, right.
Yeah, there's
Can I get her name also, please? Her first and last
Jamie
name?
Whitbeck.
Jamie Whitbeck. Thank you.
No, it's definitely a concern because some of the language in there, some of the zoning rules would change dramatically for folks that have acreage with any type of livestock, animals, feed, things like that. They change. I know there's been a point of sale language also within that, but that doesn't help you sell your property if you have and want it to be what it is and continue to be what it is. It wouldn't necessarily help you either sell that property as acreage for that when you can't use it for that. So I hear you, understand that's very much concerned. So I've heard it from a few other people as well. So you're not the only person that I've heard concern from. So, but we'll definitely look into it and keep our eye on what's going on here and stuff and see if we can get some type of information from the city ourselves on what their plans are. So,
Thank you.
all right, thank you, Jamie. Anyone else for public comment?
Could I say something?
Sure, certainly.
I'm with these guys here, so
Okay.
I was an employee 38 years and 8 months with Koochiching County Lands and Forestry.
Excellent.
And I first started out as a section corner man. So you'll be dealing with these guys. So whenever I ran a corner with a compass, I never called it a property line because you can get in trouble. You call it a timber permit line. So anyway, this property that we're disputing, my friend Dick Hardwig was born and raised there in 1925, and the fence line was in at that time.
Okay. We'll get into that in our next set of discussion here. If there's no other public comment, noted, but we will get into exactly what you're talking about here in a sec. I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Is there any other business?
No, there isn't. I think we're good to adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioner Hell.
Roach, and then me.
Excuse me. You're too mixed up today.
We're gonna get them anyway.
Crying out loud. Okay. Sure, Roach.
I'll make the first motion. Roach.
Roach did.
Okay.
I can't get these figured out here.
It's all right.
If there's no other business, I will call the question. All those in favor of adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And we are adjourned. Well, first item on this here, I have a little bit of awareness of it with Nathan there, and of some surveying that was done property. I'm assuming everyone that's here is part of that. So
I'm not a part of it.
you are not a part of it. Okay. Well. Why are you here? No, but some of the concerns, I guess I am not fully aware of what's going on. I know Nathan has a pretty good handle, decent handle on it. I think Matt can assist a little bit. I don't want to throw. And we have also Mr. Murray here with Murray Surveying that's been doing this for a long time as well. So But anyway, whoever would like to go ahead and state some of the concerns, please just state your name for the record, and we'll get you documented and we'll move forward.
All right, Cameron Hardwick.
Can you come up to the table, please?
Yeah, certainly. Come on up. Sorry about that.
So we can hear him?
This isn't candid camera, is it?
Kind of.
Hey. Well, myself and Bill Imhoff and Noah Melhorn were approached by the DNR last year that they were going to come in and resurvey the property lines of the wildlife management area that the DNR owns. All this started due to Chad Dayton, if you notice the last name, Dayton, that owns some landlocked property behind the wildlife management area. And he could not sell that very easily. He bought it for an investment. He could not sell that very easily without getting ingress and egress from the new property owner of Conley Adams property, which is Paul Rieger, who owns the first part of that roadway going back to that river property. Paul Rieger would not give a written easement, so he gave him a verbal one. So Chad Dayton, with his influence, got the DNR to survey all that land again that was been established for many decades. And now they're telling the property lines have changed. So now they're coming across on my land a number of feet across an established fence line that's been there since, like Gary mentioned, since before my dad was born. My grandfather had homesteaded the place. So what we're noticing is not just our area. Bob has some information from around Bemidji. Also, they tried to do this at a golf course. So one of the members, I believe, was an attorney, and they took it upon themselves to fight the DNR, and the DNR had to back off from changing their property lines. They were trying to grab some of the golf course property. It's like a land grab deal. So, and Gary here, go ahead.
Well, what
Name?
made me mad?
Name?
Gary Saunders.
Gary Saunders. What made me mad, whenever I ran a timber permit line for the county, I always went and saw the other landowner where either it was private or Boise or state, and we came to a consensus that that's all right. So that what gets me is when they can come out there and with their surveyors and just pull the corners and move them back over. I mean, you should have come and talked to the landowners before that, you know, but they think they got the power to do it, so.
They did not ask me for permission. They assumed one of my employees was me, or asked Chris Horton, can I go back there? And I wasn't even in town. So anyway, the courtesy that they gave was nil, and respect as far as I'm concerned. But at the same time, they're trying to grab land that's been established since the early 1900s or late 1800s. So we want to get that reversed and leave it the way it was. Everybody knew where the proper land was. Billy's lost 100 feet in one area if it continues to be established, a new property line. And his signs, old signs, are there from wildlife management along with the new ones they put in. On my property, they moved it from where it established for many decades to where they stuck it now, which is on my property. And they asked me to move my shooting box for, you know, the grandkids and hunting, so it's been on the property for years. So anyway, something needs to be done to slow this big government land grab is what they're doing. And this is, I believe, is happening out west also, Bob, is that correct?
Yeah, they're up in Beltrami County.
Yep. It's going on. It's not just the only place, so. I don't know what we can do without having to spend a bunch of money on a highfalutin land attorney, property and real estate attorney. I don't know. But if there's some way to influence the DNR just to back off and put the signs back where they were, everything was fine. Now they're coming in here with our tax dollars paying for this survey from the DNR, and it's just wrong. Fence lines are still there.
And before we all bought the properties, the lines were already in, it was all surveyed, it was all purchased the property. And now they say, oh, I guess not. 30 years later, oh, I guess not, it's over there.
How, do you have that survey record?
Pardon me?
Do you have the survey record?
I could have.
But do they have like a big corner post that they just up and decide to move because they want to, or?
It just kind of says DNR wildlife area, so now they moved it over.
Yeah, so out in Sigmeyers, there's only a couple of them in Cooch County, so there's a wildlife management area out there. It's a little bit different designation than the rest of the DNR land that we have in the county. So it's specifically managed by the Division of Wildlife, and there's different restrictions when it comes to hunting and motorized vehicle use and all kinds of different things compared to the rest of the state land. And they're very, the DNR is very, I guess, diligent, if you want, is the word to call it, about marking the boundaries of WMAs across the state. I mean, they make those markers, what are they, one every 100 feet at least, probably?
About that.
Yeah. And so, I think the concern is the signs have always been in one location, and the DNR came in and resurveyed with their own registered surveyor and broke things down in a little bit different way possibly than what was done originally, and moved those signs in certain locations, anywhere from a few feet maybe to up to 100 feet in some locations. So that's a concern, and I think like Cam mentioned at the beginning or Gary mentioned it, is when you're running any kind of a line, I mean, just communication with the adjacent landowners goes a heck of a long way, and I think that could have got things off on a better path here. At least that's my estimation.
Yeah, they just called me up and said, I gotta move this box. Well, we've got the lane along the property mowed, anyway. There wasn't much respect as far as the DNR with our property owners here, so.
And I went out many years ago before Dick died, and he was having some trouble, and he wouldn't have any trouble, but he complained a little bit about cutting wood on the farm there. We went out and I took the metal detector and we found the old fence line right away. We walked her right down, so pulled it out of the ground, and we even found a couple fence posts and tied ribbon around it. So made sure we're not on anybody else's land.
And this property you have out there, that's owned property?
I own it.
What you have out there for acreage?
On that property, 265. But the DNR runs along it only for, call it a 40.
That property?
And then they sent a excavating company out there with a ASV with a brush mower, mulching head, and they were making a fire lane supposedly along the perimeter of their property. Well, when they did this, they went right into mine because the way they moved the signs. They were supposed to go 30 feet from the signs in and make a so-called fire break. When they're mulching this stuff up, brush and limbs and whatever, trees, it's pretty much kindling laying there after they mulch it, so I don't know how they can consider it a fire break, but anyway, they call it that. So they went on my land, and I told him, I said, if you do that one more time, I'll call law enforcement. So he called his boss out of Effie, and they said, just stay 30 feet away from the original area. So then they did. Otherwise, they'd have went right down my property line and the fence and everything and mulched it up. So there are fence posts, there's wire there from back in the early 1900s. And all this started way back when the Nemec family, let's say, got influenced to move up here from South Dakota to run a dairy farm with this huge FHA loan that everybody knew they could never make it. So what they did, after Nemecs couldn't fulfill their obligation of making payments for this loan, the DNR grabbed it, turn it into wildlife management. They did not turn it into a tax base for the county.
The feds first owned it, and then they gave it to
The feds, yeah, and then they gave it to the DNR.
Because they wanted a wildlife.
Yeah, they wanted wildlife management area, so the
Absolutely.
county lost tax base off that property to start with.
Any idea how large that wildlife management area is?
Oh, it's gotta be close to a section all told, it's gotta be close to 640 acres.
All prime farmland too, they used to grain it and everything else, so it just grew back to brush.
Yeah.
So it's not a management area.
So all they do is they send in a guy to improve the sharp tail environment. So you go out there and mow here and there and whatever they do, and the guy, Chad Dayton, did sell that property to Scott Boutier. He's out of Captogama, but only with a verbal agreement for access. So none of this wouldn't have happened, I don't believe, if his name wasn't Dayton.
May I
Imagine
ask a
that.
question?
Yes, sir, certainly, go ahead.
So Bob, what did Bemidji do, the golf course do, to stop what was happening there?
They had to take them to court for adverse possession.
So they had to hire an attorney to
Yeah,
take them to court?
Jason Moner was an attorney, Romaine Paul, and he was a very aggressive attorney in his day, so he didn't have any qualms of taking them to court.
He had big balls, as they would say. There's a song.
Has there been any consideration of the land? How many of you are affected out there?
There's 4. Well, Mike, is yours affected, Mike?
Yeah.
Just on your side.
Well, there'd be 4 of us.
What's Billy's last name?
It'd be Bill Imhoff, Mike Junker, Noah Melhorn, and myself.
And what would you, I mean, I guess you want us to talk to the DNR a little bit? You want us to have a little bit of conversation with them?
I think it would be the right thing to do.
I mean, I don't know how far off in the weeds we could get with being able to get any type of land dispute changed necessarily. I think we could support the owners in moving forward with something, and especially if you actually had some records and some proof of this being there for many, many years. I mean, we could certainly support.
Proof is right there in the land. And we have it established. And we have it here from 2004 or no? Sorry. 1940 aerial photos. In 1991, 2003, and 2020.
So no one said any kind, like the DNR really didn't talk to anyone out there? Just kind of did whatever they're going to do? And
Yep, they just
I
come
never
in.
seen anyone there.
No mailers, no informational?
They
nothing?
stopped and they left a message, and then my secretary gave her my cell number, and he called me. He told me, this is a young guy, his name is Austin Fisher, I think it was, Austin. He's out of Grand Rapids, and he's a young guy, he's just doing what he's told, he doesn't know any different. So then we did meet with, the surveyor's name was Aho, that Gary and I and these 2 guys we met. He was explaining how they come in to establish these points, and it wasn't
certified though.
right.
They worked under us there.
So they went ahead and moved their signs onto my land without permission. And then they hired a contractor to mulch the brush and stuff on my land without permission, just because they moved their signs.
Because they think the new line is where they say it is now.
They're basically being very aggressive and just saying like a bully and like a bully. That's what it amounts to.
When did this happen?
This happened last fall. I think it was August.
I say something?
Absolutely.
Mike Junker? Somebody said something about they moved some of their original corner stakes.
That's what I was wondering if that's what they
Somebody
did.
else said you can never remove them, but those surveyors removed them, put their own in someplace.
Yeah, that I don't know if they did or didn't. I guess I'm not.
Somebody said that. You say anything about that, Cam? Did they do it on your pipe?
They just moved the signs.
I think what they might have been talking about is that 10-acre parcel that the farmer's home got to keep and sold. And the DNR did not agree with that 1991 survey of the 10 acres. They changed those lines.
Yeah, no Melbourne. But was there another case, did they move any stakes on yours? Or
They moved the signs.
They moved the sign, but not a stake?
No,
Not that I know
the
of.
stake in the ground. They have we used to put a magnet down in case somebody pulled that iron pipe, and we had later on we did that, so somebody can jerk it out and give it a throw, and go back there with a metal detector, look at your bearing trees, measure them in. As long as that magnet is there, that's where it was. But we used to dig out the holes too and look for old signs of where the post went in. We had to be pretty good at, we didn't want to make a mistake, because I worked under an old surveyor that, what's his name from M&O there? Lyle Wood. And he told me, I gotta sign off on this, he says, and you make damn sure you know where that corner goes, and you want at least 2 bearing objects or evidence of 2 different informations before you stick something in the ground. So I walked away from quite a few GLOs, Government Land Office survey that was, you can't set that? Geez, we're right there. You need 2, he said he wanted 2 evidence of 2 to tie that in, so.
Kev, do you have any contact information for anyone? Maybe we could get that to Betsy and we'll send some emails to some of those folks.
Our information or mine? Or?
Well, just the information that you have, and then the contact information, if any, with the DNR folks that would be kind of leading that up. And I think we could certainly send out an email to kind of let them know that there's some concern.
So what would you like from me?
Just any contacts you have that you've spoken with at the DNR and their contact information.
This Austin?
Yeah, if you can forward what information you might have that we can kind of give to them and have with them, and some of the concerns maybe more officially on paper from you folks, that would be great. Just so we're on the same page when if we get to talk to them. So, I mean, if you have a synopsis of what, we have some notes here, but we want to make sure we get it right.
The young guy that approached me first was Austin Fisher. He also. He also approached Noah Melhorn around the same area, which Noah couldn't be here because he works for Farrell Gas. He just couldn't be here, so he's on a crane.
So you said he contacted his supervisor or something?
His boss.
This is my email, if you have any other contact information
Okay.
for email addresses and
Okay.
so on.
Okay. Here's the other one, Bets. Daniel Drusch is the one in charge.
Oh,
Daniel I believe it's Drusch, I believe.
he's the surveyor.
Yes.
That's what's on that.
So there's a spell, Daniel A. Drusch. He's the one that signed off on all this surveying.
But you talked to them after they had already completed the survey, right?
I talked to them first before it was completed, during the process, and then they contacted me. I don't know, I was in Florida, they contacted me a couple months ago and said that they were finished, and they submitted everything to the Coos County.
They didn't ask you about any historical information?
Nope.
So one of the things that, when we go through a process of searching for corners, one of the things that we might do is contact property owners to see if they have any historical perspective on the location of fences and how they were established. So maybe like your father might have had, or your grandfather, whoever homesteaded it, might have had the corner at the time they established the fence. And so that's where the lack of communication becomes an issue. If that question wasn't asked.
No, they never asked me anything.
That could cause, that you always want to know if there's any historical information from a landowner that might be useful in your process. And it doesn't mean it always goes that way, but at least asking the question makes you think about it and consider it in your analysis to determine where corners are.
Right.
And I know that we always try to do that when we go through that process. Because, the old homesteaders, they had the corners. They had the old wood posts. They put their fences on those locations a lot of times. Now, if they said that they didn't have a corner, they just set the fence line, to the best of their ability, then that would be a different set of information. But if they had the corner post and they said that, I set the corner of the fence right at that corner post, well, that's valuable.
And on my property too, all the old lines are still in.
Well, to move this forward, I think if we can get information from each affected owner, just a brief summary of how it affects property, about how much, I think, and then the reasonings, and just very simply some of the historical content too, I think, with the fence posts, things like this here. We would have something for discussion with whoever we can get a hold of here.
Not that this is the right thing to do, but if you want to come out there in person and see it, I'd be happy to show you.
Okay, well, we may just do that.
Then you can physically see the difference instead of us saying, oh, here's a line, the aerial map.
Well, can we set something like that up for, what committee would that be, Matt, that would look at something like that?
Survey committee.
You want to take a
Survey?
field trip?
Okay. Well, the survey committee would be the, moreover, be a field trip. Why not?
But that way you'll see what we're
I'll bring
getting at
refreshments.
versus just talking about it.
Well, yeah, I think prior to, talking with anybody, from the
I think it
DNR.
would be a smarter move than just talking to them.
Yeah, good idea. So maybe at that time, we'll try to get that committee lined up, and then we'll get a date that works for everyone that could be there, wants to be there, can be there. And then we'll get that information, then we'll go beyond that.
I
if that
agree
sounds
with
okay.
you on your process.
Well, we got there all together, so.
Yeah.
Here's the last, in this article they wrote about me in 1992, but Okerman was here. Meanwhile, the future of surveying nationwide is moving towards satellite-based system where a receiver receives signals from a satellite, and that's what they're doing now. Can you still certify a corner by that method?
Well, you have to find a corner first, and then you use the satellite to get.
Rather than running lines through the swamps and bogs as survey crews have in the past, field equipment can be used to find the theoretic position of land corners. As soon as it's theoretic, what does theoretic mean? Does it mean there or here, So.
Yeah, theories can change.
And the GLO, I guess if it goes farther, we're gonna request the county to put that corner in up there. That'll be a lot of work, because there's no GLO certified corners right in the area, so we might be looking at a lot of money. Because that's the next move, is to request our county to reset that corner up there, GLO. Government Land Office, because they set the corners, and I gotta get the book back, but after that, it's the responsibility of the county, because we didn't have townships, so it was given to the county, it's the responsibility of the county to maintain those corners. You can just get a good lawyer that's, property lines and stuff, but you'd have to find one someplace. You could tell them right away.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're not doing that.
So we have a direction, so we make sure that everybody, we can get everybody's contact information.
Okay.
So we can contact you when this all happens and things, and then when we set up a time or whatever to go out and take a look, we can make sure everyone that can be there, so. I'm not sure who's on the survey committee, but am I on that? Are you on that, Nathan?
Yeah, it's one of the commissioners. It was Commissioner Pavlik, myself, Matt, Bob, Lindsay, Betsy, and Trent.
Okay.
And Len, too. So.
All right.
You want our numbers, phone numbers now?
I'd rather have emails if I could.
Emails? Bill?
B underscore him out at frontiernet. B underscore him out at frontiernet.net.
Mike Junker, do you have an email?
No?
If you get a hold of me, I'll get a hold of them.
All right. Because I don't even look at mine.
I've got 2,700 on mine.
I like
You might get it fast if you mail something to them.
It's gonna go that way, huh?
That's excellent. I love it. Yeah. Oh, we know where to find you.
I'll write this all out, Betsy.
Okay, sounds good.
Very well, thank you for bringing this forward and stuff too, and we'll certainly keep everybody apprised of what's going on and try to get that committee together first, and then take a look at the property, and then see where the contacts are for that too. So it'll be a little bit of a process, but hopefully
And we're not going away either, so.
no, that's good. That's good.